A new Harrier has joined my household. Find out more right here on Gary's Stuff. Hello there, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here before. Today is the second and concluding part of my build of the Harrier GR7 GR9 in 1/48 scale from Hobby 2000. Full disclosure, I was given this kit as a review sample. However, Tiger Hobbies, who are distributing it in the UK, didn't ask for a favourable review. They just asked for an honest one, and that's what they're going to get. Now, I left the last part with the kit about ready for initial priming and painting. Today we'll see it all the way through to the final result. So painting, decals, there's not much of that because you know how to paint, you know how to do decals. I'm sure it's a very simple paint scheme. There's all the parts that have to go on it, the assembly of the nozzles, weapons, and so on and so forth, and undercarriage. And then putting it all together until we get the final result, which I think actually looks rather nice. Anyway, have a look through and see how you feel. If you enjoy it, please remember, imperial thumbs up on the button below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and you'll be notified of new videos as and when they appear on the channel. And of course, if you really like it, you can donate through Super Thanks or through any of my partner programs. And if you're a manufacturer or distributor and you want to throw some free stuff in my way, hey, I'll do a review of your stuff as well, honestly, and with integrity. Trust me. Okay, enough of all of that nonsense. Let's get on and see where we are with the Harrier GR7 GR9 in 1/48 from Hobby 2000.
So the underwing fuel tanks come in two halves, predictably enough. Quite big pieces. They just sort of snap together and then they can be glued with a bit of extra thin cement all the way around. And I like that they've got these sort of shackle pieces here. Look like they should hopefully match up well with the pylons. They also need a fin. The fin goes on the outside face, so just have to remember to put one on one side and one on another side with the other tank. I'll get on and do that. Right, going to make some nozzles as well. They come in halves, sadly. There isn't a really good way to sort of injection mould these as single pieces. I guess all the aftermarket stuff that's single piece are resin. You know, fussing around trying to get these really close to being matched is a real pain, and it's just a function of having two-piece nozzles, really. We can get this face really reasonably good, then these faces don't match up all that well. That one matches up, then this is okay, then this is okay, then we lose the contact here. So we have to faff about a bit with it. Obviously for aftermarket these come as resin, so one-piece resin, but obviously you can't injection mould that sort of shape, so we'll persevere and we'll make them look as pretty as we can. I'm going to construct the missiles whilst they're still on the sprues, so they have the two fins already on. You just have to add the other two that are at right angles there, and likewise for the control fins at the front of the missile. So what I've done is I've joined them all. Put the two halves of each nozzle together, sand them, put some filler in just to make sure that there's no gaps there. Sanding these out was quite fun. I used my sort of put a little bit of sanding paper on one of these tiny little toothpick type things that gets in there okay. And so now I'm going to put some black surface primer on, just paint it on, doesn't have to be anything grand, because this will be the basis for the metallics later, and also give me an idea if the joins are okay. But it does take a lot of sort of brushing about and all that to get it flat. So ideally you would spray it, of course, but I'll paint it for the moment. Then when the black has dried, I've painted on the steel coat. Well, this is Dural, this actually, but I thought it just looked like a slightly burnt steel, because even though this is the cool outlet, the air comes out of here, it's been quite highly compressed and it's still going to be quite hot. So that's sort of slightly burnt iron look, and then proper burnt iron colour look for the hot exhausts here at the back, and they look pretty nice. Right, so let's catch up with what I've been up to. The model don't look very much like how I left it, so but there's been nothing I've done that's been terribly special, so just catch you up. So first thing, obviously, it was primed, painted it with, this is dark sea grey, this is maybe supposed to be medium sea grey or something, I can't remember what the colour's supposed to be now. I think the colours look a bit strong, but yeah, that's what they said. I've then given it a gloss coat. Given it a gloss coat, done the decals, gloss coated again, and then I just put a panel wash in using some blue-black panel wash. Put that into the lines, leave it half an hour or so, wipe it up with a cotton bud, and you get some of this sort of leakage of the lines out, which is really nice. I need to do some more weathering around here, and I need to do the weathering on the bottom surface. I'm going to do that next. So essentially that's pretty much where we are. So I haven't done anything that you don't need me to. You don't need to see that. You know what an airbrush looks like, I'm sure. It's only two colours. I'm not masking anything major. It's all just little bits of masking tape to do these bits. So nothing fantastic, really. Nothing outrageously good. So I've also built, if I can see them, I've done things like I've built the wheels, put the wheels together, painted them. I'm going to put a little bit of weathering on them. I have built the fuel tanks. These just come as two halves, and then you have the fins on the outside, so that's cool. I've done the pylons. Oh, sorry about the rattling noise when I try and find some plastic that I've been working with. I need one of those fancy things that holds all your plastic for you, like a toast rack, don't I really? Anyway, so the pylons, I've painted them, varnished them, weathered them, put the explosive bolt boarding tabs on. So all the pylons can just go on when we're finished. I've done the missiles, the sidewinders, so two of them. So these come, as I said before, single piece, but just with the top and bottom. Like the other two of the fins are on there, the flat fins are on there. The other two fins get pointed on, just white, black, bit of weathering, and then there's some decals to go around those. I'll do those in a minute. Then they're ready. Pretty much, it's all about doing component parts now. So all the undercarriage legs have been assembled. Everything's been assembled, but it's all just this and this, this and this. It's like one thing and then another thing. It's not. There's no major processes here. So I hope you don't feel left out or let down, because I haven't. Almost everything is this half goes to this half, let it dry. This half goes to this half, let it dry. There really is nothing major modelling. So to save you and me some time, I've put it all together. So I'll show you how the rest of it all goes together, the actual assembly bits of it goes together in a minute. Right, so we can now put the nozzles in as well. They're nicely painted up. The front one's a little bit more tricky. There you go, they go in. Like so. They're a bit of a faff to get in. And then the rear one goes in. There you go, should be a little bit more straightforward. Make sure they're roughly the same position. Now the blast shield goes in after the nozzle. It's very important. If you put the blast shield in first, you'll have a real problem trying to get the nozzle around it. Okay, so blast shield in second. And there we go. I think they look pretty good to me. Just do the other side now. I should say I do have a problem with this decal here. I think it's way too small, because if you sort of point the 90 degree and the 0 degree together, they meet at that point, okay, which is what this should do. But it's way too small for the actual nozzle. These markings should be out here. They should sweep a lot further down, I think, because otherwise you can't see them. But I've put them on. That's how it is. The main gear leg goes in here, and you can see this piston sort of thing at the front. That goes to the front of the leg as it sits in. And I'd give that a good while to set in solid before we do anything else with it. Same with the nose wheel here. I'd put this in and then let that sit and get really solid before we do anything more to it. In the meantime, you can put in the forward air dam and the rear air brake as well, of course. The outriggers go in quite straightforwardly. Couple of little holes in the channel there. The nose wheel goes into this piece here. It could be quite tricky. So let's pull that out slightly. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, well that's broken, so I can deal with that. There we go. That'll stay there. Now, each of the underwing pylons fits really firmly. They are sort of shaped so they sit vertically, because the wings got quite a large anhedral sort of downward angle, so they make sure you get the right sides of the aircraft. Double check the numbers so that they fit properly and they hang properly. And I've also put the bowl rail for the sidewinder on this outside pylon here. You can fit a pylon to the front here as well. I guess you drill a couple of holes and fit there, and put the bowl on here as instead, which is what I think they tended to do in Afghanistan more. So they'd have the fuel tank AIM 9 on a bowl rail here if they needed it, a CRV rocket pod on this one, and the Paveway 4 on the outside one. I think that's the way around they did it. Anyone who knows different, please tell me. I'd be very happy to correct that. But I think that's the way around it normally did. But just for fun, I'm going to put the big fuel tank on here and the sidewinder over here. And this middle one's going to be empty, and I haven't fitted this one. Along with all the other aerials and whatnot that are being fitted. There's a couple of bits of glass to put on as well. And supposed to be following the focus of this, but obviously isn't. There we go. I hope that is now. So there's a glass in there and a glass in there. Then you simply place the fuel tanks on the inside pylons. Remember that the fin goes on the outside. There's only one fin per tank, and they go on the outside of the pylon line. And of course, I've put the AIM 9 sidewinder on the outer pylon as well. Well, there it is. The Hobby 2000 Harrier GR7/GR9
in 1/48 scale. I enjoyed making it. I have to say I did enjoy making it. The kit largely goes together pretty well, actually. Not that much in the way of seams or corrections to make. The bits are all very good. The plastic's nice, comes off the sprue well. Generally speaking, it's a nice kit. It is a 2004 kit, so there are some little issues around with it, but generally speaking, it's very easy to make. Really didn't take much effort to make it look half decent, actually. I do like that you can see the fans properly through the intakes. I love the intake spill gates on the side, and it does make a nice representation of a very important aircraft. So all in all, you know, for 30 quid, I would say what a cracker. And if you like a Harrier, well worth getting one. So I said right at the beginning, I'll be honest about my review, and I'm being honest, I think it's a nice little kit. It's a great kit to have, 1/48. There's very little, if anything, to compete with it at the moment. If you want to build a modern GR9 Harrier, this is essentially your option in 1/48. There are some historical kits that you might still be able to get, but most of them are based on the same moulds anyway, so that's that. I imagine Kinetic will eventually do a GR7/GR9. Who knows whether they will or not. We'll see. But for the moment, at least, this is the one in 1/48. Most of the parts go together very well. Most of the fit is fantastic. One small panel just behind the cockpit that was a bit of a problem. The canopy mould lines are an issue only if you aren't brave enough to get rid of them. I haven't really plucked up the courage to do it yet. I will try it one day on a spare canopy, put a scratch on it and see if I can get rid of the marks using all the various polishing aids I've been suggested. There's a lack of weapons, but that's how Hasegawa were back in the day when they made this kit originally. The option of the 2 leading edge root extensions is good, so you can be absolutely accurate with those. Overall, it goes together really well, and I put the gear together and it all sits on the gear straight away, and you know that when you've got 4 points of undercarriage, that isn't going to be the case most of the time. Many kits don't have that ability to just put them all together, put them on the ground, and they just fit. This one does. Maybe I've been lucky, maybe I haven't, but that's the way it looks to me. It's good. The cockpit details, okay, I'm not a big fan of the decals, but you know what? I did some dry brushing, and with the canopy open, it'd be okay. To be honest, with the canopy closed, really not an issue at all. Yeah, the seat, I guess if you're having the canopy open, the seat is going to be a little lacking in detail. Get a resin seat, they're easy enough to find. But you know, for 30 quid, I think this is a cracking piece of value. The decals that I've used were lovely. They're very thin, very slender, quite difficult to place, but they sit beautifully. They're cartographs, so they're printed nicely anyway. Really struggling to think of things that are really bad. Maybe the colour callouts. I'm not sure about the colour callouts, only because the upper medium sea grey looks a bit heavy to me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying what it looks like to me, by the way. The problem with the medium sea grey is if you then use the grey stencils, the low visibility stencils, they're really low visibility and I can't see them at all. There's no contrast between the medium sea grey of the bottom half of the aircraft and the greyish tone of the actual markings. Now, I think if you use the correct grey of the time, if you go for one of these all over grey schemes, I will put the name up here because I haven't got the information in front of me, but if you buy aftermarket decal sets like the one I did, it tells you a different grey to use for the later aircraft, the all over grey. It's something like aircraft camouflage grey or whatever. Then the grey of the decals is going to be darker, and that will give you enough contrast to see the grey low vis decals. they are very low visibility if you use the colour callouts on the actual kit. I couldn't, using a Vallejo medium sea grey, I actually couldn't see the decals at all, so I just used the black ones instead. Not historically accurate, likely, but you know, they work for me. Would I buy it again? Yeah, I would. You know, 30 quid for a 48 scale Harrier of this quality is grand. It's really, really good value. Absolutely. No major nastiness on the way. So the bits fit. It looks good. I'm happy. That's all I can say. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, and I really hope you have, along with a rambling conclusion at the end, please do remember Imperial thumbs up on the button below, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell and you'll be notified of more videos as they become available, and there are a whole huge number of them in production, so do keep coming back and watching those. Thank you so much for watching this, hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye now.